Next, we're going to be juxtaposing George R.P.'s ethics, politics, and genetic knowledge with a look into a more historical journal article written by Fortenbaugh W.W. And this is about eugenic birth and the tension caused by the constraints that China placed on its citizens for the past however many hundreds of years, and how this affected, how these rules placed on the Chinese people practically and philosophically affected their communities and their very way of life. And it's a stark juxtaposition between these two, because George R.P.'s ethics and genetic knowledge article talks about designer babies and how the rich are going to one day, create a super race of people that will rule everything, while the other takes a look at this very pragmatic, very non-idealistic view of this genetic need to slow down a certain population's birth rate, because there simply isn't enough space, literally physical space, for these people. And so ontologically, the problem for the Chinese came down to, we cannot sustain our population and we need to do something about it. And now, because of historical precedent set by certain honorifics and other things of that nature in China, there were terrible things done to female babies. They were often, there was a lot of infanticide, because everyone wanted a boy to carry on the family name. And now obviously that's become an issue because the population is predominantly male. You don't have as many females because of the infanticide, which is a horrible thing. So we have this peek into what can happen if eugenics is used to kind of try to control population. So how does that juxtapose with trying to control population for creating designer babies? I think that we've already learned our lesson from, it's not really an example, but from this historical precedent set by China, in that we're not going to need to create these designer babies. Instead, we're going to get better at screening for disabilities so that children are given birth to with birth defects and diseases that are going to give them a very brief, very painful life with a prolonged death. No one's going to want that for their child. No rational person, if they had, I think that no rational agent, that it would almost be Kantian in its nature, that no rational agent or any person who could act rationally, that it would be their duty to have that screening done, and based on the results of that screening, either not have the child or have the child based on their civic duty, based on their pure duty, their ontological Kantian duty. And so, as we move on to the last video, I want you to think about these two ideas juxtaposed against each other and the tension caused between them. This, what the Nazis did and what the Chinese have done, these horrible things that eugenics is capable of, set against the backdrop of what eugenics could be. It's kind of like this pragmatic view of what has happened and this idealistic view of what could happen. But if we give up on this idealistic view of what could be, of what could be, genetically, eugenically, then what else are we abandoning? So I'll leave you with that thought, and I'll see you in the last video.